Hello everybody, it's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. Today we are going to be making some beautiful bath bombs in these little molds from Lee Molds. This is going to be a gorgeous, really cute little donut mold. My plan eventually is to get boxes made and then they're going to sit in the boxes. I'm also going to come out with some ice cream bath bomb molds, which will be super fun. But for today we are making these ones. Now it is rainy today, so usually I would say do not make a bath bomb in the rain unless you have a huge dehumidifier. So I'll go through a couple things and then let's get making. Now to start, I do have my trusty new KitchenAid here, so we're going to be using that. We do need a little sifter so that we can sift the bicarb into that. I have already bloomed my bicarb. If you want to know how to do that, please go back to some of my other videos. I will actually put a link in the one where I've done a full tutorial on blooming bath bombs. So basically that is just water, your water soluble dyes, and blooming the bicarb, and you can do that months and months in advance. So that's for that. We do have a hand press, but you can press these simply by hand. We need the citric acid. I'm going to be using some polysorbate 80, some cream of tartar. That is what you desperately need to harden this up. In the spray bottle there I have some witch hazel. Then I also have these beautiful florals. You can leave them out if you don't want them, and of course the mold and a couple extra things and some SLSA. That's optional, you don't need that if you don't want to. So I'm going to give you the recipe today, everyone, as well. So listen through the video and I will actually give you the recipe. If you're on my Patreon, go over there. It will be all written down for you over there as well. So let's get going. Now inside my studio, here is my dehumidifier. It's a huge dehumidifier. This is actually a split system. Now if you go onto your split system, it will have a mode that says dry on it. So let me just grab it and I will actually show you what I mean. So here is my dehumidifier. So can you see where it says dry? So it will say auto cool, dry, heat. Obviously heat is to make it hot. Cool is to make it nice and cold when we're in summer, and the dry bit is actually a dehumidifier. So it's saying that my dehumidifier is sitting at 25, so it's very happy to sit at that. So I've actually basically put this to 25, to number 25, but you can go to 30 if you want. Depends on what you actually want to set it at, but that's what I'm going to set mine as because we are in Australia. So that's all done. Now let's go over and actually start to make it. Now today we are going to be working in grams. So as you can see here, I do have my KitchenAid. This is the KitchenAid bowl and my little sifter. So we are just going to be putting in the bicarb into here. Now even if you get brand new bicarb, I would definitely put it back through this. This is what's going to make a super smooth, you know, absolutely beautiful bath bomb. So in here we want 225 grams of bicarb. And you will notice, everybody, that every recipe I do is different. Now I do also have, which you can't really see, but I do have the KitchenAid bowl onto a scale. Obviously I tear it out in between each ingredient that I'm putting on, and this will definitely help it. Now I do have a bigger sifter inside, but for the purpose of this video, it's only a small amount that we're doing, so we're just going to shake it in between. And you can see those lumps that are left in there. Now, if I didn't do this, it's just not going to look very pretty at all. It would bring really big lumps and make it ugly. Now, there are some times that I would say do not make a bath bomb. If it's thundering, don't even try, no matter how good your dehumidifier is, because honestly, that's usually when the bath bomb does not work or something goes really wrong. So yeah, I'd definitely say not to do that. So now we do have the right amount in here. If there's any lumps, just kind of push them down, and any little extra bits like that, just throw them out. So we're going to just tip them straight in my bin. So now this is all done, so you can see how much smoother it is. So I will actually leave that, and we're going to add a couple more ingredients into this bowl. Then we'll put it onto the KitchenAid and make it look beautiful. So let's tear out the scale. So now inside this bowl, and I'm sorry if you can hear the wrinkling of packaging while I open it all up, we are going to just put a very small amount. So we are actually just going to put, this is about roughly a teaspoon of SLSA. Please be careful, it does get airborne and can actually really be annoying to your lungs. Just a small amount like that is not going to change much, and I will put this away straight away so I don't have to deal with SLSA. Now, if you don't want to put SLSA in, you definitely don't need to. Now, I'm going to tell you the reason I put it in with bath bombs. Once you get your bath bomb, you put it in the bath. If you want your bath bomb to last longer, SLSA will actually help slow down the citric acid, just making the bath bomb diminish within seconds. So it will help it, and it will sort of give it a foaming kind of feel as well. You can also put different things like milk powders. Coconut milk powder is really good for doing that as well. But as I said, anyway, for here, we have it in here, and you can see it's only a very tiny amount I'm popping in mine. But if you don't want to put that in, just exchange that with bicarb instead. So now we do have that bit in here. So now what we're up to is literally just going to put our oil straight in here, put it on the mixer, and then we're just going to mix it and make it gorgeous. Now we're going to add some beautiful jojoba oil. So this, if we can see, let me just move this out the way, is my jojoba oil. This one's from Pure Candle Supplies. You can get it from many places. They just had it, and I thought, look, much easier. So we're going to add 1 tablespoon. So the one I'm using here is a half tablespoon, so that's why I'm adding 2 in there, but it's actually 1 tablespoon of jojoba oil. You can change this to a different oil, but using jojoba oil is really beautiful because it's very close to our skin type, and it's a really high luxury one. And just for that 1 tablespoon, it's not that expensive, and it actually looks really good on your label to say you've got that as well. Now the next thing we are going to be adding in here is we're going to be adding in some polysorbate 80. This is going to help the oil that we just put in not slick and stick to the top, but rather disperse within the water. So we only need half a tablespoon of that. So let's just pour that in. It's also going to act as a binder. If you don't want to use this, you don't have to, but it really does help. If you're not going to use that, just exchange that for oil as well. But do remember that your bath bomb may be slippery with the oil in it if you don't have the polysorbate 80. Now, for now, that is all we are going to do, although we are going to spray 2 sprays of witch hazel. Now, the reason I'm also spraying this is to help, so I'm just going to move this, and we'll move the camera. It's actually going to help us well with lots of different things, especially helping the SLSA not be so, powdery and airborne. So now you can see we have our KitchenAid here. So I am literally going to turn this on and show you exactly what it's like. I just turn it to a low speed, and let's get making. Alright, so now that has mixed enough, we can see it in here. We are going to be adding in the extra bits. So, of course, we are going to tear out the scale. I'm just going to make sure it's on grams because I must have pressed the wrong button. Once again, put our little sifter, just sit that on top. Now, we want to actually add in something extra into here, which, of course, is this, which is, your cream of tartar. So we want to actually add in 2 tablespoons. So that is 1, let me just do this, 2, because this is a half tablespoon. Remember, we established that before. and I forgot to actually sanitize the right size, so that's why we're up to that. I can pour that in because it was just a bit of oil left on the spoon. So basically it's just helping it be smooth every time we do anything like this. Now we do have our citric acid. I have bought it just in this because I have actually ran out of citric acid. So if you run out, you can actually just go to your baking aisle and buy it from the baking aisle. Super easy. I pull off the top, so it's just much easier. Now in here we are going to be adding in 100 grams of citric acid. Now a lot of people will say, oh well, you know, most people do, you know, so if they have 200 grams of bicarb, then they're going to be adding in 100 grams of citric acid. Now, this may sound really funny to people, but this is why I do mine. Mine is not that exact measurements because Lush actually have the patent on that. So I just think by changing it a little bit, I'm making it more mine. So that's why I change mine. May sound silly to some people, but that's why I do mine. So now we've got all that in there. All we're going to do is put it on the KitchenAid, just let it mix for a couple minutes. Once that is ready, then we are going to go and press it and finish them off. So we know that's it for now. And you will notice that my mix is definitely going to be more dry than most of them that you've seen. The wetter the mix, the more likely it is that it's going to sink. So that's why you need it a little bit more dry and not wet. So anyway, let's mix this up and get ready to actually press them. Now, I just wanted to show you if you can see how smooth that is. So can you see how beautiful and smooth it is? Obviously, I need to get the spoon and get it off the sides and keep letting it mix. But this is what's going to really help you when you actually sift everything and make it beautiful. Now, if you don't have a KitchenAid, that's fine. I didn't have one for a very long time. This KitchenAid is quite new to me. So you can use any cheap one. Even go to a discount store. You can get them super cheap. You might even be able to find one at a thrift or an op shop as well, but using a mixer really will help you get the perfect bath bomb. So anyway, we are going to mix it. We're also going to be adding in a fragrance oil. If you don't want to add one, you don't need to, but I'm going to add one into this one just to add a bit of fun and a gorgeous sort of scent in here. So anyway, I will get that all organized. So now I have just scraped it all off the sides, and this is what it's starting to look like. It's definitely not ready yet, but now we are just going to be adding in our fragrance oil. Now please check your fragrance oil. Some fragrance oils will tell you that you can have a much smaller amount than others. So some may say 1%, some may say up to 4%. So it just depends on your fragrance oil, but I usually stick to about 2 or 3%, even if it says you can have more, because that way, you know, you're not sort of risking anything. Now I'm going to let this, like I said, just keep going. Now sometimes if it's super dry, you may need to add a tiny bit more witch hazel, but we will always see as we go along. I never do that until everything's mixed. So let's just mix it up. Alright, so we have a little mould. So this is from Lee Molds. Now inside here I do have a little bit of floral. I'm going to just add a very tiny bit to the bottom. Nothing too exciting, but this is a florally kind of one, so it will definitely go with it. Now I'm going to tear out my scale because we want to make sure that every single bath bomb is the same. If you're selling something, it must measure what you say it's going to measure. So I always put extra because it is going to lose a tiny bit of water. Witch hazel is plant-based, so it does have a bit of a, you know, it does have a bit of the water actually in it. So we're just going to see what it says it's going to be. And I think this one's probably going to be around the 100 grams for this particular one. So let's just pop it in there. So I put in 115, and I always just go and just double check what it's going to be like. We'll just tip that tiny bit out, and like I said, I put 115. So this, I'll probably sell this for like 110. And usually I would have everything set up differently, but to show everyone what I'm doing, and then just give it a press in here. If you don't have a hand press, you can press this by hand. you don't need one of these. This just obviously, you know, does help it a little bit. And as you can see, it's here. So let me just easily open it up. So all you're going to do is just push it. You can have one of those things to help push it, but if you don't have one of those or you can't afford one, you can do it yourself or even get a bottle to push it up, but usually I just push it with my hands. So you can see it's going to come out. All those little tools that they have are just to help it. Now, can you see this little line? This is what is called the satin line on a bath bomb. Now, many people will tap their bath bombs and everything. I never do. I literally just give it a little squeeze. You just squeeze the plastic a tiny bit and it will help release it. And you can see how perfect it is. That's just the center that's going to fall out. We don't care about that bit. So turn it upside down and there you go. Here is the bath bomb looking absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to just pop this one onto the tray and we will be on to the next one.